Hey folks, welcome to the second part of a two-part podcast takeover here at ASOTUCON 2025. I am Joshua Taylor, Insurance Podcast, and I have Roy DaVilla.
There we go.
And it's Buchanan
Auto Stores.
Auto Stores?
Yeah, Buchanan Auto Stores.
You are an operator.
Correct. Operations director. We got 4 rooftops.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about ops.
Okay.
We are at probably the event to attend of the year in automotive, at least in my opinion.
I'd agree.
And it sounds like it's in your opinion too, because you brought your entire executive team, if I understood that correct.
Correct.
So let's get into a little bit something about operations. So service managers, fixed ops directors, they have to consider ops, right? Not just the sales side of service, but ops. Talking about expenses, you're talking about gross profits, your net to gross, you're talking about lead volumes in terms of service, what's going on with your marketing. What's something that you learned thus far in the last 36 hours here at ASOTUCON that a service manager, a fixed director could take away?
You know, it's funny, and I said this to a couple of people before coming out here, especially my executive managers. You know, they said, hey, we're excited for the sessions and the breakouts and the pitch tanks. And I said, what you're going to realize, and I hope, is that the biggest things that you're going to take away are not going to happen in any of these stages. They're going to happen on these tables or even in that casino in the middle, in between, because that's when you have what I would consider some of the highest level people in their field at this event. And I think one of the conversations we had sitting at a table with a couple of fixed guys and a couple of variable guys, and it's funny because even the table was set up split, right? Variable guys on one side, fixed guys on the other. And we started talking, and I think me and you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. The biggest thing that a service manager can take away from all of this is too often we looked at these departments as either conflicting or competing, right? The service had no idea what sales was doing. Sales had no idea what service was doing. We need to mirror and have better communication skills. And we had an actual fixed ops director sitting with us talking about embracing strategies that work for the rooftop, not for one department or the other. And they're very similar. For years, we've embraced technology on the sales side, right? But on the service side, it's kind of, why not embrace on both sides? Transparency, trust. I mean, you name it. There's a number of things that just implementing something like video across the board makes a difference.
Agreed.
And in our rooftops, that's one of the big changes, right? I feel like if you have an amazing experience on one side of the house, it shouldn't be different on the other.
Agreed.
Stores had one or the other. Either they love doing service with somebody, right? And I love Hank because he's a service writer and he's been there for years and he takes care of me. And oftentimes it's not a discount, it's just a feeling, right? But I can't stand those sales guys. Keep them away from me. I don't want to talk to them, right?
And it's interesting because they're in the same business.
Yes.
And realistically speaking, they're both salespeople.
100%.
One just sells a car and the other one sells a service.
Well, we've branded it that way. It's just like our advertising. How do you get mad at friction advertising when you're advertising 10 grand off and no money down, and the customer walks in and the first thing we do is ask for all the money and no discount? That's friction, right?
100%.
It
also goes to service marketing too, right? Because you can put all kinds of coupons on your website. Doesn't matter what you use, whether you're using trade pending or you're using fixed ops marketing. It doesn't matter what you're using in terms of putting something in front of a consumer that's on your website or on your socials. We are so conditioned to put discounts. That's not what sells cars
at all. Or
price is always, but sales is always considered, whether it's sales or service. But like you said, the feeling, the value of that consumer to the business, and conversely, the value of the business to the consumer. What is it you're providing me? Are you providing me a service? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what sales or service, you're providing a service.
100%. I build my dealerships on 3 core principles, really. And it's both sides of the house. Convenience, transparency, experience. Convenient. Can I make it easy for you to do business with us, no matter which side, right? Transparency. Transparency is not a price, it's a feeling. Transparency isn't telling you I have tires at this price and the other guy has them at this price. It's a feeling. Do I feel like you're being honest with me? Do I feel like you're not taking advantage of me? Do I feel like you're not a bait and switch, right? And then, so we did convenience, transparency, experience. That experience piece is huge. That experience piece is, you know, I'm a big Steve Jobs fan, right? And Steve Jobs said something when they were chasing IBM. Everybody kept coming in and saying, IBM can do this, they can do that, their process. And Steve stopped them all and said, look, I'm not interested in doing what they do better. I want to be different, right? That experience piece, we spend a lot of time in Variable talking about it and even implementing it and making changes. But then we neglect the biggest part of our dealership, because honestly, from a Variable standpoint, we sell the first one. Service sells the next 5, right? So why are we spending so much time figuring this piece out, but leaving that guy in the back?
Correct.
Right? And we'll get to it, or hey, internals or whatever. No. Retention starts with, how did I make you feel when you interacted with me? Did you have an amazing experience when you purchased the vehicle? And then after the fact, do I make it easy for you to come service your car?
Right.
When you come service your car, am I open, honest, transparent with you enough to where I can upsell you business, but I can do it because I did it with integrity, right?
Agreed.
I did a video of the vehicle. I showed you what the brakes look like.
So there's 3 things in there. One, I want to touch on video. You brought up video and that impacting your business, all 4 stores, video has been transformative.
Yes.
I'd like to make sure everybody that's listening and watching, one of the recent episodes I published with Josh Arnold, who uses My Karma in their stores, he is now doing post-repair video. So he's doing a video inspection prior to send out to the customer, make aware the customer what's going on. This is what's needed. This is what's recommended down the road. But once they get the authorization for the repair, he then does a follow-up video at the end. It's like, hey, thank you very much for your business. We really appreciate you servicing with us. These are the things that we repaired, and showing that. That's super impactful.
Yeah.
That's showing the transparency. That's showing the integrity. That's, we are doing what we say are we going to do.
It's standing on it. It's standing on, your promise.
Right.
And the problem with that, though, that's going to do one of 2 things for you and your business. It's either going to promote you and show, or it's going to expose you.
Exactly.
That's the scary part for dealers.
That goes to fear, right?
Yeah.
But I talk about this morning. So I have a group of 30 or so of the techs I've had on my show. I've got in a group, Sweaty Leaders.
Okay.
So I get to talk with them on a regular basis. We talk about challenges. We talk about leadership issues. We talk about how do we overcome these things together.
Yeah.
As technicians, we're all going through roughly the same thing. And when we talk about those things, he brings up those things, and you see the aha moment going, all the shop foremen and all of the new service managers that are in the group. They're going, oh my God, why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
Well, it's fear. It's one of 2 things. It's having the authority and the autonomy as either a shop foreman or a service manager to make change.
Yeah.
So you've empowered your executive team to make change
100%.
so that you can affect the transparency, consistency, the experience,
Convenience.
and the convenience of doing business with you.
Correct.
So we can apply that to sales and to service.
Oh, 100%.
So, and I'm really glad that we're learning those kinds of things here at ASOTUCON. So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask absolutely everybody that I've had on the show. Is what's your one piece of advice for a technician to be happier, healthier, or more productive tomorrow?
Man, it's going to sound mushy and all that. I mean this with all honesty. And it's not just a technician, it's everybody. Too many times our employees are employees and they come do a job. In my dealerships, I don't want you to come do a job. I want you to enjoy what you do. I want you to love what you do. When you put on that jersey or that shirt or whatever it is, and you have that logo on there, there needs to be a sense of pride that comes with that, right? So technician, service writer, sales manager, it doesn't matter. Purpose. What are you doing there that day? What's your intention, right? What are you looking to accomplish? Make it bigger than that car. Make it bigger than that customer. Know why you're there. Don't be there just to do a job, because anybody can do that. If you and what technicians do is underappreciated. You're talking about, that's somebody's means of transportation. That's their livelihood.
That's their family's future.
100%. And you're ensuring that it's in tip-top shape or fixing it when it's broken, right? There's a sense of pride you can have with that. On the variable side, we just sell it. You guys ensure that it's fixed, it's operational.
Safe.
Yes, 100%. And that's going to keep them coming back. So understand, as a technician, you play a bigger part in our organization than even you know.
Agreed.
We sell that first one. But from the videos to the pride to You are the impact that makes a difference on whether we're going to continue to sell that person or family more cars in the future. We can do an amazing job over here, but if our technicians drop the ball, they're never going to come back.
Right.
And unfortunately, you get it at a time where they're not happy.
Agreed.
When something's wrong with a car, they're not ecstatic.
No.
They're upset.
And most of the time, customers guess however it is that you phrase it at your store. They're not at your store. They don't want to be at the store in service.
No.
They have no desire to be at the store. They don't want to spend any money in the car. It's a depreciating asset. But if you make the experience exceptional,
Yes.
you make it easy to transact with you, if you make it transparent so that you know exactly who's working on the vehicle, how it's being worked on, like all of the promises that we make, if we keep them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Whether it's as a service leader or as a technician or as a service advisor, if we keep the promises that we make, how much better would our businesses be?
100%.
And I like the analogy you used because I love Steve Jobs too.
Yeah.
One of probably the most famous quotes that I think that he's ever phrased, or more importantly, that Apple has ever done, is when they first came out with the iPod. The iPod is not the most advanced piece of technology.
Not at all.
It's not the buttons. It's not the size. It's not.
And it's so simple.
It's super simple. They didn't phrase it like that. And no different than to you guys in the shop floor as technicians. You guys are not the super great, talented technician, technical jargon, screen, buttons, whatever. You're the 1,000 songs in the pocket.
Ooh.
That is what we are as technicians. The more you can appreciate what it is that you can do for the business, which in turn does for you, the more that you can appreciate that 1,000 songs in your pocket, be that, represent that, you can be the best leader in the shop, you can be the best technician in the shop, you can be the best spouse for your family, you can be the best husband, father, you can be the best brother, everything. If you take the mentality as I have value and I'm going to be the best I can possibly be, and I can be that 1,000 songs.
Well, but think about that. I'm glad you said that, because here's one thing that I'm working on with my leadership team and myself personally, right? It's funny. I had some content being made the other day, and they took a podcast that we had done, took a clip out of it, and I listened to myself say this, and it hit me, right? But I had a buddy tell me one time, you got to think about this. Imagine you're at your funeral, right? Morbid, I know, but you're sitting at your funeral, and there's colleagues and family, and your colleagues are there, and your kids are there. And your colleagues go to your kids and say, hey man, your dad was amazing. Your dad was this, he was a pioneer, he was a mentor, he was all these. Is your child gonna have to look at them and take their word for it? Or do they know? So to your point, I'm challenging myself and my leadership team that the best husband, the best father, the best boss, the best tech, the best salesperson, it needs to be the same person. Who you are at work needs to be who you are at home, and who you are at home needs to be who you are at work. So as leaders, our job is to foster that environment and a culture that's safe for them, right? Then we
100%.
lead into the purpose side of it. But if you can understand and appreciate everything you just said, we don't look at technicians that way. They're sweaty, they're greasy, they're back there in the back. Just look at the shop. It's tucked away. So everything we do, that's a perfect analogy for it, man. It's as owners, as operators, as platform people, I did not start as the operations guy. I was the variable operations guy. Why do you go to ops? Because I paid attention to service, because it plays a big part. Because as a variable guy, I made sacrifices for our profits to make service make sense, to give more retention to customer, to bring more people back, right? So when you look at it from that angle and that perspective, that's fostering an environment where it's not about me, it's about we. And those guys and girls back there play a critical part in the entire operation.
Agreed.
Now and later.
Agreed. The folks listening to Roy go through this and understanding how important it is to be a leader, even if you're not a leader of the shop or the business officially, if you can be a leader in your own life,
100%.
be a leader of your bay, be a leader of your family. The best leaders don't necessarily want to be leaders.
No,
they simply want to be the best they can be.
It's not something you choose. It's something that you're called to.
And we don't necessarily know the calling, and this is very specific, but I think the most impactful men in my life, outside of my grandfathers, the most impactful men in my life have had purpose. And they have purpose in everything that they do. That's why I've been able to publish as much as I have in the last 3 years. It's why I've been able to come to ASOTUCON in 2025. It's why I've pushed myself to the extreme to try and promote a message of wellness for technicians because of that purpose. That purpose gives me fuel. That purpose gives me fuel. So I put a test to you folks. If you feel like you are wandering, if you feel like you are lost, it means you don't have purpose.
Amen.
And if you don't have a purpose and you feel that way, find a purpose.
Yes.
And even if it's super granular, it's like, I'm going to be the best at this. Do that until you are the best at that. And when you find out that you are the best at something, even if it's super granular, it could be pushing the broom.
Yeah.
You start to realize that you can make more things happen. The purpose pushes you further. Okay, what can I do next? What can I do next? Who can I serve?
Yeah.
Because when you start doing that and you start talking about, okay, how can I be better at this? And then who can I serve? And what is my purpose? You start serving people around you.
And your cup is full. And when your cup's full, you can pour into others. And now every interaction is amazing. It's not, I challenge that, right? And this goes in service too, but I started it on the sales side. I said, okay, we pay so much attention to this saying or this phrase. Without value, price is important. In the absence of value, price is the deciding factor, right? So I flipped that and I said, okay, think about our dealerships. In the absence of purpose, the only thing that's important to an employee is position and payment. Well, the problem with that is that somebody else can give you a position I might not have, or all they have to do is outbid me. I'll pay you $1 an hour more, right? If you're missing purpose, the only thing that I can give you are those monetary things. But if you're living in purpose, those things we'll have a conversation.
There will always be a conversation about price or about pay, but it's not necessarily, and as somebody said this morning, 12% of the time price is the factor.
100%. Yeah.
Which means that, what's the number? 88% of the time price is not the factor or pay is not the factor.
The same thing in our stores. But it's such a driving factor because we don't pay attention to the other 88%, right? We don't. We just focus on what's in front of us. And that goes from the top down. Like, you can't expect your technician to be living in purpose if your owner's not.
Agreed.
If your owner's concerns are just profits, that's not going to bleed down.
Now, to give you some context. Yeah. I asked the whole crew, all three of them, to what if you were in my position and you were here and you had the opportunity to talk to an operator, what were some of the questions that you would want to ask? Now, some of them were exactly what you would imagine come to mind. They were, and some of you, you know exactly who you are, asked those kinds of questions. But then I got really creative questions. And if we have enough time, I think we have a minute here. If you'll do me a solid,
of course.
And I'm going to try and ask you one. So let me scroll here through the Sweaty Leader group chat, and let me go back here.
By the way, man, kudos for that, because that's not enough of that going on.
Impacting more people is why I started content. I can impact in a direct team around me if I'm in a store. I can interact with maybe 50 to 100 people if I got myself to a position where I got to lead a store. That's a lot of people.
It is.
But I got 225,000 views on YouTube. I've got 15,000 listens on Spotify. I am affecting way more people by creating content and building a community of technicians to help them be leaders than I ever could.
Well, let me ask you. You did it because that wasn't there when you were doing it, correct?
Agreed.
Yep. Same thing.
I didn't have that kind of support after I left my first shop, because I had the greatest foreman and I had a group of apprentices around me at the time. That's why I'm still in the business.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There is the question that I won't ask. How do you, Roy, at Buchanan Auto Source, how do you measure technician success outside of the dealership? Meaning, not technical savvy in terms of brand training. How do you measure their power skills? How do you measure their ability to be promoted? How do you measure their ability to lead?
Okay. And I'm glad you asked that. And I think this is, once again, I'm going to drive this message until we don't need to anymore, but there shouldn't be a shift from one department to the other. I think this is important for anybody in your organization. If you're truly worried about building a brand, right? Like, you want to build a brand. You want people to trust you, love you, enjoy it, all that. So no matter if it's a technician, sales pro, whatever, if I'm going to judge you or critique you and put you up for promotion, I think about one thing and one thing only. Are you an example of our core values? For your department, are you an example? There's KPIs we put out there. There's morale. When I look at the model Buchanan employee, are you them? You don't have to be the highest performer. You don't have to be the highest earner. You don't have to. No. Do you model my culture? Because if I'm going to put you in a leadership position, it is important to me that you carry this mission through. How can I expect you to lead somebody if you're not doing any of the things? And I'm not talking from turning wrenches. I'm talking from the intangibles.
And that applies to every department.
100%.
Do you represent our core values?
Do you? Are you a model employee?
That is. So, question. Thank you very much. That's Richard Mueller, shop foreman.
Yes, thank you.
So he wanted to. It's something that he and many others that are at that level of leadership that want to take it to the next level.
Do you want to stop turnover?
Right. You want to stop turnover. Values. How do you represent the things that the business wants to accomplish?
Yeah.
Right.
100%. And not just a business. Us as human beings.
Correct.
Our values. Because if your dealership can be more than a dealership, you're winning.
And how can you, as a technician or a salesperson or a service advisor, how can you represent that so you can push the business forward in what you can control in your microclimate, in your bay, or at your desk?
And if you do that, you're living in purpose as a tech or a salesperson, you're going to do it as a manager. You're going to do it as a foreman, as a director, as an owner, it just goes off. It continues, right? You don't one day wake up and go, okay, all of a sudden I'm the guy. You're that person because you've always been that person.
Agreed.
And you lead with those values, no matter if you're pushing the broom or you're leading the entire operation. It's the same version of you. You just got called with more responsibility.
Agreed. Boy, thank you.
Of course, man. Thank you
very, very much for your time.
Glad we did this.
I'm so glad we got to talk to an actual operator, somebody who is living and breathing multiple stores worth of folks, which means you're dealing with HR, you're dealing with hiring, you're dealing with crisis on the sales floor, crisis in the service drive. Those are the kinds of things where you're getting to the root fundamentals where you said, are you living our mission, our vision, our values?
100%.
So I have been preaching through content. You guys need to be making content about your mission, your vision, and your values. And to talk about mission and vision values and how I end the show every single time, negative pushes, positive pulls, and always clean your toys before you put them away.
Love it. Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much.